Welcome back to Yoga Berry, your yoga for scoliosis community. Today I've got a lovely hip-friendly practice for you. I called it Happy Hips because that's really what it's for. And you will need a yoga belt for the practice. I will also use a blanket and a yoga bolster for relaxation at the end. So get everything ready and join me for the practice. I'm Christine Jareggi-Berry. I'm a yoga teacher specializing in yoga for scoliosis. You will find lots more information on my courses, online courses, offline courses that I offer on my website, and feel free to join the Facebook group. It's a fabulous place to meet some other people who are going through the same thing. Start the practice lying on our backs and just have the feet flat on the ground. So bending your knees, just kind of take a moment to allow yourself to settle here. And if you've already had quite a busy day and this is the first time that you stop, then take a moment just to notice how you feel right now, right in this moment. And let's take 3 or 4 nice deep breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Just letting go of any tension. Inhale and take a big exhale. Good, let's do 2 more. Really letting go of anything that is not needed, especially around the hips, around the pelvis. Inhale and exhale. Just dropping a little bit deeper into the ground. Good, and let's start with a little movement here of the pelvis. So we're going to roll from one edge of the pelvis to the other, and I sometimes call this windscreen wiper legs because the legs move from one side to the other, but I want you to really think about moving the pelvis rather than the legs. So we're just going to do a few of those. Come back to center, and then we're going to tilt the pelvis forwards and backwards. So tiny little movements forwards and backwards as if you're kind of making some space underneath the lower back and then releasing that space again. Good. That's it. And then let's bring the left knee in towards the chest. Just drawing the leg in towards you. Give yourself a really nice stretch here on this side. The left side of the lower back is now flattening into the ground. And then we're going to use the hands to guide the leg around into circular movements. So it's very tempting to allow for the pelvis to kind of wobble around. So bring your right hand onto the hip and asking for the pelvis to stay really nice and level. So it's just the left leg that is circling around the hip socket. And hips love circular movements. And it might be smaller circles, or if you're feeling a little bit more stable, you can take the circles a little bit bigger. Let's reverse the circle, so we're going to take them the other way around. Good. And then slowly release and change sides. So right leg comes in towards you, just giving yourself a little stretch here. And then again, we're going to use the hands to guide the leg around into circles. Now bring the left hand onto the left hip to keep it stable. So circling it around in the hip socket. Good. And then let's reverse those circles. And this side might feel completely different than the other side. Good, and then let's slowly release. We're going to come into a little hip stretch here. It's called reverse pigeon pose. So we're going to cross the right ankle over the left ankle over the right thigh. Left ankle over the right thigh. And we're going to bring the left hand onto the left leg, just to kind of gently press that left leg away from you. So you're opening out through the left side of the hips. So let's stay here for a couple of breaths. And maybe this is enough stretch for you. If you want to take it a little bit further, you can start to bring the right knee in towards you and then taking hold of the back of the thigh. So my left hand goes through the leg and then the right hand comes from the outside to take hold of the back of the leg. Now, if you can't reach, if you are somewhere halfway, you can use your yoga belt as an extension. So you would just kind of take it around the back of the leg and just work where it feels comfortable for you. So I'm clasping the hands together at the back of the thigh, but just see what feels right for you. You'll probably feel a stretch along the left hip, the glutes, wherever you have got the most resistance, that's where you're going to feel it. So you can either stay here or maybe extending the right leg up towards the ceiling for a moment. And I like to kind of point and flex the foot a few times, just giving the ankle a bit of a stretch, so circling the foot around. Good, and then slowly release, and then releasing the leg. Good, just come back to a neutral position for a moment. Don't be in a rush to go over to the other side. Let's notice the effects of the pose. So I already feel that I've got a bit more space on the left side. So we're going to do the right side, crossing the right ankle over the left thigh now. Bring the right hand onto the right leg and gently start to press that leg away from you to open through the right side of the hip. So just for a couple of breaths. And then again, bring the left leg in towards you, taking hold of the back of the thigh, either with the hands or take hold of your belt if you want to use the belt. Just taking a few breaths here, drawing the leg in towards you. So make sure that your bottom doesn't come off the ground. So we want to keep the spine nice and long. So we want to keep lengthening through the tailbone and through the crown of the head. If it feels comfortable, you could extend the left leg and we'll start to point and flex the foot a few times, waking up the calf muscle, waking up the ankle, circling the foot around one way and then circling the other way around. Good. And then let's slowly release, unraveling the legs. Bring both knees in towards the chest. And we're going to come back to those circular movements. So this time we're going to circle both legs around, keeping the big toes together, one hand on each knee. We're going to take the legs apart, the knees apart, bring the arms away from you, circling them back together and then drawing them in towards you. So we're circling the knees in opposite directions. So using the hands to guide the legs around into those circles. One way and then let's circle the other way around. Okay, just noticing what those circles feel like. Do they feel quite even or is one side harder than the other? Good. And then let's slowly release and we're going to roll over to the side and then slowly make our way into sitting. Good. So bringing yourself up and take hold of your belt now. We're going to come into Janu Sirsasana. So we're going to extend the left leg out and then bend the right leg. Bring the sole of the foot to the inner side of the leg, and the knee is dropping out to the side. Good. So from there, we're taking hold of the belt and we're taking it around the left foot. Good. So if you find it very difficult to sit like this and you might want to be a little bit higher up, you could always sit on a cushion. You could sit on a blanket, for example. Just see what feels good for you. So what is important is that when we're sitting here, that we can still lengthen up through the spine. And it might mean if your hamstrings are very tight, you might have to bend your knees slightly. But just see what you can do. So it's important that you can keep lengthening through the spine. And I use my belt for that little bit of resistance here. So lengthening up through the crown of the head. Good. Let's keep lengthening. So important for scoliosis, and it's very, it's a great strengthening pose because there's actually quite a bit of effort required to keep yourself in an upright position. So if you are more experienced and you are familiar with this pose and you want to take it into a forward bend, then feel free to do that. Just if you do, make sure that you keep the spine nice and long when coming into the pose. So we don't want to kind of go into it with a rounded back, but keep lifting up through the spine and then slowly folding yourself forward, maybe just halfway. Good. And then slowly coming up. Good. Let's bring the left hand onto the belt, and we're going to slowly start to rotate ourselves to the right and just let the right arm follow. Actually, let's bring the right hand onto the right collarbone. I'm just conscious of my microphone, so I'm not touching it. So we're going to lengthen and then ask for the rib cage to rotate around so that it's not your shoulder that is taking you around. Good. And then let's unfold the arm and reaching through the fingertips. Good. So you might think, what does this have to do with my hips? You are getting that lovely opening here through the right side of the hip. And then obviously everything in the body is connected. So if we are working on other parts of the body, it will also have an effect on your hips. So let's slowly bring the arm back in. And then we're going to come back to center and then change sides. So extend your right leg and then bring your left leg in towards you. Good. So left foot is facing in. Again, using the belt to create that bit of resistance here and to lengthen up through the spine, lengthening both sides. And let's relax the tops of the shoulders. Good. Just see how this side feels, if there's more tightness on one side than the other. And that's why these asymmetric poses can be very good to kind of find out what we need a little bit more of. So if you want to take it into a little forward bend, then feel free to do that. So again, we're lengthening and then we're coming forward, maybe just slightly, just with a long spine. Just exploring and seeing what's going on in the backs of the legs, obviously directly connected into your hips. Good. And then let's slowly release, and we're going to bring the right hand onto the belt. Left hand comes onto the left collarbone, so the bone that is sticking out underneath the throat. And then we're rotating the rib cage towards the left as much as you can, as far as you can. And then once you can't rotate anymore, you're extending the arm and reaching with the fingertips away and looking towards the hand. Good. Just taking another breath here. And then let's fold the arm back in and slowly coming back to center to release. Good. So we're going to take it into a lovely restorative pose now. And it's called Supta Baddha Konasana. It's bound angle pose, but we're going to lie on our backs, and I use the bolster for this. So I'll show you my setup, and then you can get yourself into it and then maybe stay in it for a little bit longer as well. So I use the blanket just for a little bit of head support, and I kind of bring it around this way, so I can always fold it over if I need it a little bit higher. Now the purpose of the belt is going to be to support your legs. So we're going to loop the belt. So if you have a D-ring belt, you bring the end of it through both rings and then back through one of them just to loop it. And then we're going to sit as closely as possible in towards the bolster. So you might even want to kind of push it in towards you. If you don't have a bolster, you can use stacked up blankets as well. So don't worry if you don't have one. And then we're going to take, now just look at how far can you drop your knees out to the side. So if you have stiff hips, you might be about here. You might not go very far. If you are more flexible, you might be down here. So I don't have super flexible hips. This is kind of natural for me. I don't want to go to my end range. So I'm going to bring it in slightly, and then I'm taking the belt over my knees. So from the top. So just look at what I'm doing. So I'm opening my belt, bring it over my knees, and then I can just rest my knees into it. So make sure that it's not in your full stretch. So I'm going to take it in a little bit more so that I can really feel supported here. Obviously, if you want a little bit more of a stretch, then do open it a little bit more. But rather than suffering, I'd rather that you are comfortable in the pose and you can stay in it for a little bit longer. You could set your timer for maybe kind of 5 minutes to start with, but then working your way up to 10, even 15 minutes. Good, so bolster very closely in towards you, and then just lying yourself over the bolster, and then just organize the head support so that it's comfortable. Now, if this is uncomfortable for your lower back, that might simply mean that the bolster is too high. So you might even want to just lie flat on the ground. So see what feels good. But I really like this opening here. I like the opening of the front of the body, which is why I'm using the bolster. Good. And then you just allow yourself to be in this pose. It's lovely opening across the chest. It's a lovely opening across the hips, but in a very supported and very constructive way. So we're just going to allow ourselves to be here for a few breaths to get a taste of this lovely pose. It's so beneficial, especially for women. It's great not only for our hips, it's great for the whole pelvis region, for the reproductive organs. Lovely restorative pose. Good. So I really don't want to come out of it, but I will just to kind of come and talk to you. So to come out, you use your hands, bring the legs back together first, pausing here, and then roll yourself over to the side to bring yourself up. But obviously feel free to stay in the pose if it's comfortable. Make sure that you feel really, really supported, and then see if you can start to stay in it a little bit longer. Maybe even making this your intention, your sankalpa, to practice the pose every single day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Good. So I hope you enjoyed our practice today. If you did, give me a thumbs up, leave me some comments. It means so much to me. You can join us on the Facebook group. You can find me on the internet under yogaberry.net for my online courses, for my offline courses. And I'll see you very soon for the next video.